Hello everyone, welcome back to Let's Play Super Paper Mario. And after finding every pure heart, the band of heroes set forth for Castle Bleck. The stakes were high as the ominous void grew larger. Could Mario ready to stave off the inevitable... Stave off the I'm never going to try and finish what I was trying to say. These thoughts plagued the minds of our heroes as they curtain rose on their final act. And this is the final act because it's the final chapter. Chapter 8-1. The Impending Darkness. That's a really imposing chapter name. Imposing chapter name, that is. And unlike most worlds, it's not going to draw itself here. But we are going to get kind of look at his castle. It's quite dark looking. I do like the design of his castle. It's all very solid black with white lines. We've seen it before when we were in the Peach segments. And I just like the style of this chapter because, I mean, again, it's all just black and white lines, but it's just a cool looking. I don't know if I wish more things to have this kind of style, because again, it's kind of original. That's a little, you know, its own style. Like, it's not really like it's like an old-fashioned style, like, you know, black and white. It's more like it's very clean black and white, and just the environment is black and white, not all the things in it. But yeah, I like the style of Bleck's castle. Then you have some blue in the background, so it's not like it's all black and white, but it's very stylized look. I mentioned before how I do not really envy, but I am interested in like minimalism. You know, like minimalism wallpapers I've seen for like computer backgrounds. Make a minimalism game. That's kind of like what I've heard. I've never played it, and I only heard things about it, but like Shadow of the Colossus is kind of like that to an extent. It's kind of an experiment in minimalism because it's really, its main purpose is, and I guess this isn't entirely true, you could say, well, nah, it's not really, but kind of its main purpose is to an extent, you know, make you feel feelings and emotions with very little. Doesn't have tons of dialogue, it doesn't have, you know, tons of in-depth story knowledge, and it has mostly just the bosses and just the land. There's not really anything else stopping you. And yeah, I feel it does, from what I've seen, again, I haven't played it personally, but from what I've seen, it works pretty well. But like, you know, minimalism it's an interesting thing that you can make someone feel as much as, like, this game has a ton of dialogue, right? To have something to make someone feel as much as you do with some of the emotional characters in this game, or in any game with tons of dialogue, with very little dialogue. You know, minimalism can be very powerful if done correctly because of the fact that you're doing the same or more with less. No, it's always interested me personally, that kind of style. And here you have Mr. Eyes and Red Mr. Eye. I'm not sure if they have a name. I'm sure they do, but I don't know if it's like Red Mr. Eye, or Demon Eye, or Bloody Eye, or... yeah. I assume maybe just Red Eye, or Sir Eye, as opposed to Mr. Eye. Mrs. Eye, actually. It's essentially pink. But yeah, minimalism is a style I wouldn't mind seeing more of. And I guess my thing is... that's something I guess that's kind of been bothering me lately to an extent. And it's more of I'm looking at it from both sides. There's a whole thing about, okay, the Wii has, for specifically WiiWare, I'm going to talk about WiiWare, that people who are developing for downloadable games, or even for the Wii for that matter, they don't want to have to downgrade their games. I'm gonna stick to downloadable personally, because it's a little bit different when you get into Wii because of the HD factor. But when you get to specifically WiiWare, there is a memory size limitation. So you have people who are trying to develop for all platforms, and they come to the Wii, and they're like, well, we'd have to, like, because of the memory, we would have to, you know, take some parts of the game out. And there's people who are saying, well, they could easily just design it for less. And I guess my thing is, both sides are right to an extent. For example, sometimes it's not a horrible idea to really design things with less. People use so much, you know, like the HD, so much memory. You know, you can sometimes it's interesting, and it kind of shows your power as a creator if you can make something with, or something that does as much as something like else that uses more. An example, I guess, to an extent, would be, Mega Man. Well, not even Mega Man. Like, I guess Mega Man 9, 10, that used the old-fashioned style. That's not exactly a good example because they're more of a throwback than they are like trying something new. But there are games out there that are very, simple in graphical style. Now granted, there are some games out there that just have a ton of levels, and I can understand. For example, Meat Boy. I know for whatever reason there's people out there who really don't like that game, and I can understand. I mean, I'm not saying you have to like the game, but I'm surprised I've seen comments. Maybe it's not just the places I've looked have had a lot of comments of, really hate against the game and saying it's horrible. And I don't know, I like it quite a bit. I mean, it's not the best game ever, but there's some things it's done that are very, innovative. And you might be like, what innovative? How is it innovative? It's just Mario or Mega Man with just the wall jumping mechanics. Well, here's an example of where it's innovative. I kind of realized this after reading an interview that people who made the game were talking about. That's something else people, like, they criticize them. It's like, I'm not saying feel sorry for them, but like some of these independent developers really do have it tough. They don't have the financial backing, so sometimes they're working, doing more work than like sometimes a whole team of people will do, and yet they're getting criticized. I think sometimes it's good to look back and be like, okay, yeah, it's fine to criticize them, but there should be a line where you look back and say, well, wait, if I was in the same position, that's the thing. If you're in the same position, I'm kind of mixing rants here, but if you're in the whenever you're thinking of saying something, you should always be like, well, wait a minute, if I was in the position, what would I be reacting like if someone was telling me this, and should I tone it down or try and rephrase it in a manner that treat yourself in the way others would treat others the way you would want to be treated, basically. Yeah, basically one of the ways it's innovative is in terms of difficulty. Some of the things it did, basically, and this is something that definitely the Mario games probably could benefit from. And they did say they wanted to kind of make it Mario. They wanted to make it Mario, not top Mario, but Mario if they were making the game. They were kind of basing it off Mario in that sense. So, like, one of the things they did was they kept it being difficult, but they kept it non-stop. As soon as you die, you start back up pretty soon. And that's something that that I liked about Bit Trip. I mean, I guess they're not innovative because they're not the only ones to do it, but like Bit Trip Run are kind of that same sort of thing where when you get hit in that game, you start back at the beginning and then you start up right again. It's pretty instantaneous of you starting up again. So they kind of had that. They had the music continuing to loop. It doesn't stop. It just keeps going even when you die. There's even the reward of showing all your deaths, so there's kind of a reward there. There was more things they talked about, but basically the way they presented the difficulty and continuing on with the game, they presented it in a way that would keep you not getting discouraged and keep you wanting to play it. And you might be like, well, that's not that big a deal, but some of the small things, really make a difference in game design, and that was something I'm like, yeah, that works really well. I can notice it because when I play, like Donkey Kong Country Returns even, and it's even small, when you die in that game, you get a short little death animation, and then you being revived, and it's very short, but even that, it's long enough that it's kind of like, it'd be nice if it was shorter. You might be like, well, you're just complaining, it's just a really nitpicky thing. Well, no, it's not something that I feel like, well, if a game does have long death revivals, that it's bad. I'm saying I appreciate it when the fact that they kind of thought about that design for difficulty. But yeah, I guess my thing is when they had their whole level design, their levels, they didn't put on WiiWare partly because they didn't want to have to skin down the version for WiiWare because of the memory issue, and I can understand that personally. But at the same time, I do think sometimes game developers can. It depends on the game. Sometimes there's people who rely too much on the new technology and new memory, and it's like, but you could do this without all that memory. You can do the exact same thing. I feel Galaxy 2 and Galaxy I feel are good examples of games that, without the HD quality, for example, still look pretty decent. Personally, you could say, well, no, they don't, but I think they look pretty good. on an HDTV TV, you might say, well, they look a little bit stretched and a little bit pixelated, but as I said before, that's very minor and it doesn't bug me. That's more the fact that I don't know, whatever. I've talked a little bit too much about stuff of that aspect, and I'm kind of running into Chunks wanting to fight Bowser, or rather, Bowser wanting to fight Chunks. He's kind of got sick of Chunks in his mouth, and Bowser wants to take him on alone. So yes, we are going to fight Chunks, and you're required to use Bowser. However, I like using Bowser, so that's not a problem by me. I am 100%. Yes, he said egg salad sandwiches chunkier than this guy. So yeah, this battle's pretty normal, except for one minor detail. And I'm not being really that sarcastic, it is kind of minor. But it's minor in that it's minor and it doesn't affect the battle. But yeah, he does get bigger. But yeah, it doesn't really affect the battle in any way, to be honest. It just makes him bigger. That's really it. Just use your fire breath and you'll be fine. This is not a hard battle at all. Yeah, I guess but I guess my point of the whole downloadable thing is, I think developers, you know, I think back to like the original Mario games. They had to, you know, come up with solutions sometimes for the memory problems and issues. And it feels like, I guess my thing is people have relied too much on extra memory. And I feel sometimes having no limitations in that aspect ends up, you know, actually not allowing for more creativity. Having limitations can help more. So I think, well, it's fine to be, you know, when your game is made, you don't necessarily want to have it be remove stuff and be sold for the same price with having less content. Fair enough. But I think at the same time, it's not a bad idea to try and think with less. Personally, I think game designers probably in general should be doing more of that. And the ceiling was going to fall. Not sure exactly why, if it was just the chaos of everything rumbling or if it was a trap. But Chunks saved us. The reason? Because we stomped him and we've earned the right to pass. But why'd you save us? And that's, yeah, because you spanked us. Well, whoa, we didn't spank you. We just kind of defeated you. But yeah, we've beat him. He decided that he's honorable and he's going to let us pass. However, Bowser wants to prove his manliness, so he is going to hold up the ceiling as well. Hey, super stupid bros, get the princess in the next room now. But I said to go. So yeah, Bowser is going to have a who can hold the ceiling the longest contest with Chunks, just to prove how much of a man he is. You get out of here too. Don't worry about me, I can hold this thing up all day. Thing is, like, it's not like it's, yeah, I think it's just a ceiling fell. It's not like it's, like, pushing on you that much, so, like, can't you just, like, toss it somewhere, you would think? Maybe not. You get out. So, yeah, neither one wants to budge. They're gonna continue holding the ceiling up. Until... Oh, they're dead. Poor Bowser. Not Bowser. How did Bowser die? Wouldn't they be sent to the over there, though, if they were dead? So that, you know, it wouldn't be quite that bad. They already got familiar with the underwear and over there. We don't have time. We must keep going. Are you sure, Princess? I'm not worried about Bowser. He's easy to get rid of. Yeah. I mean, he survived being sucked into a black hole. He survived lava and having his skin melted off. I'm pretty sure Bowser will be okay from a ceiling falling on top of him. Either way, though, this is the end of the chapter. So this has been Mega 400, and I'm reminding you that sometimes it's good to think with less.